I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. It's a pretty catchy phrase. I've used it a lot. But what does simple actually mean? Does it mean to make complex topics understandable, or not to make a simple communication overly complex, or not to oversimplify complex topics? Tim Maurer, who's a CFP and he's author of Simple Money, writes in a recent issue of his FLIP newsletter that oversimplification often takes the form of dualism. Now, we can define duality as splitting something into two opposed or contrasted aspects. In essence, it's the state of being divided or polarized. Sound familiar? This is rampant in our society at every level of not only politics, but religion and money. Duality in making financial decisions can often produce costly mistakes. One reason for this is that our brains love oversimplification. Daniel Kahneman's Nobel Prize-winning research found that we make most of our decisions in our brain's limbic system, the middle brain, which is all about the speed and ease of a decision. It loves keeping things simple with duality and loathes complexity, which requires laborious thinking. The hard work of thinking happens primarily in the cerebral cortex of our brains. Maurer explains one of the chief methods of oversimplification is seen in our addiction to duality. Duality is this or that, one or the other, my way or the highway. Financial decisions and duality go hand in hand. Should I cut spending or increase my income? Should I spend for this item or save the money? Should I borrow to buy a new car or keep my old beater? Now, upon closer examination of these, none of these polarized decisions are inherently a simple either or decision. Let me give you an example. The polarized decision of should I borrow to buy a new car or keep my old beater can be expanded to consider many other options. One is save monthly an amount equal to the payments on a new car and then wait to buy a new vehicle. Another is borrow to buy a 3-year-old car with low mileage. Another would be buy a used car with only the cash that you have. How about reducing the use of your current car by walking and biking more? Maybe having a complete diagnostic done on your current car and spending the money to repair it might make a lot of sense. And combining them with saving the money that you'd use to pay down the debt on a new car until you had enough, combined with what little value there is in your old car, to buy a new one. You could sell your current car and lease a car long-term, or you could sell your current car and lease short-term. What is a short-term lease? That's from a car rental company. You could sell your current car and use rideshare services, carpools, and public transports. I actually have a video that I did some time ago, several years ago, on how a retiree can sell their car and use Uber. I'm thinking it was like once a day and be equal in the cost of maintenance and the interest that selling the car could generate. And finally, you could move to a neighborhood where a car isn't needed. So And this isn't the end of it. This is just some of the example of starting to look at all the different options there are to a polarized decision. So of the options I listed, not all choices are going to be reasonable for any particular person, but they're still options. So being presented with just two options, two choices, anytime you're looking at finances is a financial red flag. There's almost always at least a third choice. With some thinking, more options are usually available. You know, actually, many philosophers throughout the ages have contended that there's no such thing as duality. It's a kind of a figment of our imagination, if you want to put it that way. They suggest that every decision starts with three options. Some refer to this as the law of three. I once heard author and philosopher Richard Rohr say, "You can't choose sides with three." So the path to financial well-being often begins when we realize that our money scripts are often inherently polarized and conflicted. When we bring awareness and a greater sense of consciousness to these contradictions within us, the fog that often obscures the path to financial well-being begins to dissipate. I would suggest non-dualistic thinking is desperately needed, not only in personal finance, but also in religion and politics. We've been trained for conflict, to misunderstand and misinterpret one another. We all have PhDs in dualistic thinking. We're so invested in our own opinions, in confirmation bias, that we often cannot see the bigger picture. And I fall into that category. Our egos often find it hard to admit we may be wrong. And I think that the fear of admitting that I'm wrong is the heart of confirmation bias. So mastering non-dualistic thinking, it's essential to the work of transformation that increases our emotional and financial well-being. Thanks for joining me.